Good afternoon, morning, everybody. It looks a little different. Today, Bob was double booked, so it's just me, but we're going to talk about something that I feel too few people actually talk about. And I'm going to say this right now that if you're struggling right now, before anything happens, there's a number on your screen. And I would encourage you, if you ever need 24 hours a day, you can call, you can text that number. It's confidential. But the reality of it is, 49% of entrepreneurs have at least one mental health condition. 30% of us are affected by depression, which is just an astronomical number. When you look at statistically, general population, only 7% of people, struggle with depression. So this is going to be a little bit deeper of a conversation. This episode is brought to you guys by the Code Family. The Code Family is a mental health support social media page. They're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, but again, and they're there to help and listen, the same way that the 8988 number is there. So as we get into this, again, like I said, the data is real, right? 49% of entrepreneurs have at least one mental health condition, and 30% of us are affected by depression. And one of the things that, as I was kind of getting ready for this episode, I think that really caught me off guard, that I guess I didn't even realize, but suicide is the second highest killer of entrepreneurs, only second to cardiovascular disease. So stress, bad diets, just the nonstop burnout that every entrepreneur feels. And it's crazy, specifically because, I mean, entrepreneurs, right? You choose a life of being an entrepreneur because you want freedom, but at most times you can actually end up feeling more trapped in that than you can actually in the freedom. And that's why I think it's so important for us to talk about, because if you are feeling trapped, if you are feeling the highs, but then the same day you feel a crazy low, you're not alone. And I think that, again, as entrepreneurs, Bob and I talk about this all the time, is you've got to find mentors. You've got to find people around you who understand not only the struggles that you're going through business wise, but the struggles that you might be going through mentally. And again, as entrepreneurs, you are going to feel there's no safety net, right? And I think that causes a lot of the struggles that that causes depression, that causes the mental health conditions that entrepreneurs truly deal with on a day-to-day basis. And again, if you know an entrepreneur, if you're an entrepreneur, chances are, I mean, either you or someone that is feeling depressed, they're feeling down, even if they're succeeding. I mean, I've seen a lot, and I've dealt with a lot of entrepreneurs. I've dealt with business owners who have been very successful. They're successful entrepreneurs, but they still, either are severely depressed, they have really bad anxiety, or I've seen a few, unfortunately, that have ended to take their own life, and while still being successful. And the reality of it, and this is not me just telling you stories of businesses that I've dealt with. It's not me telling you stories of dealerships that I've been to, but the reality of it is, even a few days ago, I myself was struggling. I mean, the weight of 2 years of building something that is yet to arrive. I mean, when I talk about Triton, right, I've been building it for 2 years, and it still hasn't arrived. And I've dealt with so many investor issues. I've dealt with so many different things that make you question, am I good enough? Do I deserve to build something like this? Or why am I experiencing all of these issues? Like, why me, right? I've done everything to the T. I've done everything, by the book. I've pivoted when I needed to pivot. I didn't hold on too long to something. but at the same time, it's like you just feel like you can't win all the time. And it's a, I mean, it's a hard feeling. And I will say one of the biggest things for me, that I will say has helped me outside of, honestly talking to you guys, is I have an incredible partner, who supports me every single day. I mean, she is there for me from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed, and she always is encouraging. I mean, she pushes me to work through what I'm feeling. She pushes me to not cope by drinking or anything else. Right? She is truly an anchor, and she's the one person I would say that truly understands, personally, the weight that I'm carrying. And again, every entrepreneur, when I say that, goes, yeah, I understand that weight, right? And my question to you guys as entrepreneurs, or business owners, or just people out there, I mean, you don't even have to be an entrepreneur to struggle with this. You don't have to be a business owner to struggle with this. I mean, so many people struggle with anxiety, with depression, with any type of mental health issue. You don't have to be that, and you can feel so much weight. And I would say in the environment that we live in today, I mean, everything's way more expensive than it used to be. I would say it's probably a tougher time now to try to start a business. It's a tougher time to come into this world. As if you're coming from college, if you're coming from, even just getting out of high school, it's a tough world, where, you either have to suck it up, or you just kind of ride through life and be content with just being content. And that there's nothing wrong with that. I know a lot of people who are probably way happier than me in life 90% of the time, who work a very basic 9 to 5 job, and they're fine with that. They love that security. Um, but as me personally, I have a hard time living with that security. Not necessarily the security itself, but the, um, not challenging myself, not pushing myself to the extremes that I think I can push. I mean, realistically, entrepreneurs are, I think, built very differently. Our minds work differently, which allow us to move with passion, move with emotion, but at that same time, again, you're opening yourself up to so many different vulnerabilities by just saying, you know what, I'm going to go for it, right? And if I fail, I fail. And when you fail, it sucks, right? It's never like it's easy to fail, right? It's not fun. I don't think there's anybody out here who goes, oh, I love failing. It's one of my favorite things to do as an entrepreneur is to fail. But, um, you know, you've got to learn from it and you've got to grow from it, but it still sucks. It hurts. And, you know, I would encourage everybody out there again. And again, Bob and I have talked about it over and over and over, that you have to find other people who are like you, who understand what you're going through, who understand what those failures feel like, what the successes feel like, because you can truly go from the highest of highs and, like I said, down to the lowest of lows. And every project certainly has, those risk factors. There's very few, I'd say, businesses out there that have a risk factor of zero, right? That you can't fail. And even if there's things where the business itself maybe can't fail, is your ideas can fail, your marketing plans can fail, your business partnerships can fail. There's so many things that can go wrong, and you have to be the most vulnerable when you're starting a business, right? You have to be vulnerable, and that's scary. It's not something that I would say most people can do, and almost every entrepreneur that I know, like I said, has struggled in some way. With some type of mental health issue. I think the different things, I would say, I feel like there's probably three different things, at least for me in my mind, that makes a difference for founders who, are going through a dark period, or the ones who haven't. I think for me, the three things are, one person who knows that full truth, whether that's a spouse, whether that's a family member, whether that's a mentor. You've got to have one person who 100% knows the truth, right? They know the full truth. You can be completely transparent with them. You can come to them and say, hey, I'm struggling today, whether that's physically, whether that's emotionally, mentally, whatever it is. You've got to be able to come to them and know that they're your safe space, right? You've got to be that. Now, and if you're watching this and you're a spouse or a friend or a partner or a family member of someone who is an entrepreneur, I would encourage you, when they do come to you with that, right? Be that safe harbor for them, right? They're not asking you to validate their ideas, right? They're just asking you to listen. They want you to know, hey, this is where I'm at. Here's the truth of the matter of the fact is I'm struggling, right? I'm going through a mental breakdown. But and again, if you're someone who is a partner, a friend, a family member, a spouse, whatever it is of an entrepreneur, when they're struggling, like I said, they've got a lot of weight on their shoulders, especially if they have people that they have to support, right? An entrepreneur that's building a business and at the end of the day, can't fully support their family or can't fully support their business, right? They're carrying so much freaking weight, and it is exhausting. I can tell you from personal experience, it can be exhausting, but it's also the thing that drives them. When I talk to my fiance, who is again incredible, um, you know, I can be like, oh, this really sucks. And this is this. And she understands I'm not coming for advice, right? She understands that I'm not coming to hear her opinion on it. I'm just coming to say, man, this sucks right now. The other thing is a community of people who are going through the same thing. I think that's an incredible, important thing if you're going through a dark period, or even if you haven't gone through a dark period. Again, there's going to be a point in your life as an entrepreneur that you're going to experience a dark period. And you've got to find a community. I mean, I found an incredible community through Cass and Mike Lazaro, through the Founders Farm. That was an incredible community. I still am very, very active with a bunch of the people that I met through that. And then the other thing is you've got to make a decision not to cope with whatever your coping mechanism is, right? Don't cover up the pain. Don't cover up the experience that you're having. You drinking. I should have looked up the statistic. I don't know how many entrepreneurs are considered alcoholics or have a substance abuse problem, but I imagine the number's pretty high because you use it as a coping mechanism. I know that I, in the past, used it as a coping mechanism. I can say that that's not something that I cope with anymore. But that was, alcohol to me was a way to quiet my brain, to numb the pain, the issues, the fears, the failures that I was having. None of it came easy at all. None of it was fun. It wasn't fun to be completely vulnerable to a person. That's not something that I can easily do. Having a community, I would say that was probably the easiest thing, just because of what Cass and Mike built through the Founders Farm and through their book Shoveling Shit. I would say that was the easiest one. And then having, through your conversations, through your communities, make a decision to stop coping. Don't put yourself in a position that it's going to make things worse, because people can go, oh well, alcohol, it calms my brain, I can finally sleep at night. Yeah, but the next day you have to deal with the same thing. Like, it doesn't go away. It doesn't stop it from being there. All it does is it prolongs it, it stretches it out, and I think that it makes it 10 times worse at the end of the day. So and typically, as I get to the end of an episode, right, I always will ask Bob. I said, Bob, what is that one thing? Someone's watching who has never told anyone what they're carrying. What is their one sentence? And since Bob's not here, I'm going to give you my one sentence. If you're out there watching and you have never told anyone what you're carrying, whether that's in business, whether that's in personal life, um, find that person, right? Find someone, talk to someone, and it doesn't even have to be a friend or a family member. Hell, there's an incredible therapist out there. There's people on that 988 number that you can text, you can call, who are there to listen. Tell someone what you're dealing with. You don't have to deal with it alone. I've met too many people who've dealt with it alone or tried to deal with it alone, and they're no longer here. I would say back in 2019 was the realest of reels for me in understanding that I lost a lot of people who ended up taking their own life in 2019. And, you know, they felt so alone, but I was always there willing and ready to listen to them. There were so many people there willing and ready to listen to them. All they had to do was to reach out, and to my issue, I guess, to my downfall, right? I should have reached out too, right? Check on people, see how they're doing, ask them, truly what's going on in your life. The people that you care about, ask them, and then shut up and listen. I mean, Bob says it all the time, right? Find someone smarter than you, ask them how to do things. And when they tell you, just shut up and listen. The same thing goes for this with mental health, right? Is ask your friends, ask your family, how are you doing? And they go, oh, I'm fine. And you say, okay, like, honestly, if you're fine, that's awesome. But if there's ever anything that you need, if there's ever a question or not a question, but if there's ever a struggle that you're having, you just need someone to listen, I'm here for you. Right. And that was the Code family. I started the Code family, I think back in 2019, might've been 2020. Just because there were so many people that I was engaging with on social media, whether that was TikTok, when I was very, very active on TikTok, doing a lot of lives on TikTok, Facebook, or my personal life, just people who were struggling and they just needed someone to be there and to listen and to shut up and just be a shoulder to cry on. And so again, my one thing is, if you're struggling, or if you're a spouse, a partner, a friend, a family member of someone who's struggling, um, ask them how they're doing. If it's you, tell them how you're doing. Um, don't cope, don't hold back. And if you're the receiver, right? If you're listening, then just let them vent, let them cry, let them get it out. They're not asking for business advice at that moment, right? They're one of the, I think, the worst things that you could do for an entrepreneur, especially if they're struggling, and say, well, maybe you should just give up on this, right? Because in entrepreneurship and business ownership, right, that's your life, right? Is building businesses, building something successful, building that freedom, right? That's your life. And if you ask them to give up on that, you're asking them to give up on their dreams. You're asking them to give up on something that is just inherently built into them to do. And that, I would say, would do way more damage. And if you are a person who doesn't feel like you can listen without having a response, encourage them maybe to go talk to someone. You can say, hey, listen, I would love to listen to you. And I'm more than happy to listen to you, but maybe you should find someone else. Maybe, let me help you find a therapist. Let me help you connect with a community. Do a little bit of research yourself. Because I would say that, especially when it comes to telling someone or finding a community that you can be truly vulnerable with, right? That's hard as an entrepreneur, because you're basically coming to them and saying, hey, I'm failing in some way of my life. I'm failing in some aspect of my life currently. And that's hard for, I think, for anybody to admit. Whether you're an entrepreneur or not, I think it's very hard to admit that you're failing at a part in life, especially with the social media world that we live in. Is right. You see everything that's good. You don't see the negatives. You don't see the bads. You don't see um, the bullshit behind the curtain. And it makes you feel like you're alone. It makes you feel like you're the only one struggling. It makes you feel like, you're the only person who's going through this. But the answer is, you're not. right? And social media, I'm going to call it out. 99% of social media, I think, is bullshit. It's a facade that people fake every single day. They fake a smile. They're actors on a screen. And you can't believe everything that you see. So that's why I wanted to come on here and just say, you know what? If you're struggling, we're here. I'm here. The Code family's here. The Crisis Lifeline is there. They're there 24/7. It's free. It's confidential. It's available right now. So if you are feeling in a place where you need support, if you feel like you don't know if you're going to be able to make it to tomorrow, call or text 988. Call or text them right now, because you're not alone. And I promise, because I have been there. And the only reason that I can say this from my side is because I had the people. I had those three things, right? I stopped coping. I had one person I could be 100% fully truthful with, and I have that community. And if you're looking for a community, again, the Code family is there. The Code family, there's no money that goes to it. You don't have to do anything. It just reach out on social media, and either myself or someone else who is part of that group will reach back out to you, right? And it can be 100% anonymous. No one has to know who you are. No one has to, no one is going to judge you on there, because I will tell you, everybody on the Code family, right, that's there to support has gone through it. They've been through it themselves, or they went through it with someone that they knew personally very, very well. And they decided, you know what, I'm going to learn more about this. I'm going to learn more about depression. I'm going to learn more about suicidal tendencies, suicidal thoughts. And I'm going to be there for someone, maybe the way I wasn't able to be there for someone in the past. So again, you're not alone. And all I can say is take care of yourselves, be here, be present, be yourself, and be true to who you are. So with that, I will see you guys next week. I appreciate everybody who's on here every single week. You guys are all loved. You all are appreciated. And again, if there's anything we can ever do for you as Unplugged Unfiltered, as the Code family, or just me personally as Brian, I'm more than willing and happy to do that and be there for you. So thank you guys. I truly, again, appreciate it. And we will catch you next week right here on Unplugged Unfiltered.
Never disappoint, so we have coincidentally stumbled on a legendary. Wait until they see us now, waiting for the opportune time to show them this new power of mine. When words is where we landed, we're 2 rows, the next to be commended. We're taking down all of those who oppose. Gracie Grove will soon be upon us. Katie Hike, we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in.